All right, we're now being joined by Bolande Agbaje. Hi, Bolande. It's always a great pleasure having you here with us. Well, let's begin with this issue of new COVID restriction, reintroduction of COVID-19 restrictions. What do you make of this, and how do you see this move now impacting the commodities market space?
So it was like a 50-50 chance. We did expect that at some point the government would, look into protecting our economy from, what's happening in India and Brazil. It seems like those countries are finding it hard to, cope this COVID-19 surges despite the vaccine introductions. And also you have news from countries like Seychelles, which is considered as the highest vaccinated country.
Yeah.
Despite this, they're still having, increases in COVID cases. But obviously, people aren't dying. But the fact that, COVID cases are still rising despite the introduction of these vaccines calls to question. I think the WHO is looking into that. But on our end here, I think the best we can do as a country and to protect our, economy and business activity going forward is best, to protect or introduce protective mechanisms to prevent the surges. And regarding commodity prices, I'm sure, most manufacturers have already priced this in and also, found ways to adjust their business strategy when it comes to, lockdowns in general. We've been through this for the whole of last year, and I don't expect, a significant change in commodity prices. Right now, we're seeing, more or less structural changes in or structural changes as a result of increases or decreases in commodity prices.
Yeah, but if we're talking, about protecting our economy from the external factor that you just mentioned, India, Brazil.
Yes.
Okay, shouldn't we be looking at the borders, the airports, for instance?
Yes.
Instead of allowing, just everybody, coming in, all planes coming in, shouldn't that be the major focus at the moment?
Because I think the reports the government released last night, I think it mentioned something about prohibiting non-essential travel. So I'm sure they're looking into, increasing the protective measures within those airports as well. But I think shutting down the airports drastically, it's not really great for the economy, because a lot of us, we're literally a globalized economy, and shutting it down the impact or negative impact of that wouldn't be so great. So it's more or less like a gradual, process.
It's like choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Yes.
Either people will go hungry or leave the economy open and we have health challenges.
Exactly.
So, what's the trade-off?
It's better we take care of our health.
What's the trade-off here?
Well, taking care of our health is, more or less important for the long run, because obviously without health, there's no business, there's no, there's no activity within the economy. And it seems like, COVID is something that we've never seen before. And the rapid or the deadly impact of that is grave compared to what we had seen in the past. So I'm sure the government is, has no choice but to take measures in place. And so we don't find ourselves in, the situation we found ourselves in.
We have bigger fish to fry. We have security problems.
Yes.
Unemployment is raging. Inflation is raging. And now we have COVID-19 lockdowns.
Yeah, but COVID was always there. It has always been there.
Exactly. So now there's a resurgence now.
There's a resurgence.
And there's a risk of another lockdown at this point, with what Nigeria is already going to currently.
I know it's a difficult one, but I think the government's hands are tied. There's nothing they can really do at the moment. When it comes to even increasing or increasing stimulus or spending within the economy, I think that's a challenge. And, trying to protect the economy from that lockdown seems like the best option out there. And obviously to prevent, increases in spending as well. So you continue your business activity. Hopefully, they're working on the security challenges as well. With unemployment, they've talked about business or companies can carry on with their work, but they should just be mindful of, and obviously virtual means has, become the new order now. So I don't think I think businesses have more or less adjusted to this kind of.
Can we afford another lockdown?
Anyway,
is it possible?
well, we have to take care of our health first. Now let's look at the oil markets as it is. We've seen the current trend there with the cyber attack, on U.S. pipeline there. So What is the outlook for this market?
Well, we do not expect any drastic changes in oil prices, just because as much as you're seeing that offset from the U.S. market, you're seeing, increases in supply in places like Iran, which is more or less considered as, number 3, or was considered as the third largest producer at some point. I think it's number 4 or 5 at the moment. I think they increased their production by about 200,000 barrels in April alone, which is a significant number. And, as much as you're seeing that increase in supply, I think it's balancing the, offset or the decrease in supply in the U.S. So right now, oil prices are more or less, staying at about $68, $69 per barrel. Hopefully $70 per barrel, but we don't expect any drastic, changes to oil prices compared to the other commodities in other global commodities like metals, non-metals, grains. Those are still in that commodity super cycle.
Absolutely. And then one would now ask, talking about the commodity super cycle, the metals, you talked about iron ore, copper, for instance, and then the question a lot of people would ask, because even the crypto market seemed to be in the red at the moment. Now, is it that investors are now channeling attention, now going into the commodities market now and dumping the crypto market?
No, I don't necessarily think they're dumping the crypto markets. I think the crypto market more or less is reaching a horizontal point where it's just, maintaining that high. But with the commodity market space, this has been a trend since last year. Most investors have now seen that it's a better investment opportunity. But the only question now is, would this commodity boom bust? We do expect this to happen maybe in 2022, but as for now, as for this year, it seems like it's great for commodity prices or global commodity prices, especially corn. Corn has really increased by about 100%, and this obviously has been attributed to the supply shortfalls moving on from last year, the fact that demand has increased significantly, and also, when you look at the uses of corn, ethanol production, tortilla chips, for example, and so many other commodity products, corn is in significantly high demand, and this has obviously increased its price. And one would just call to question, would this, bust soon? But we don't.
But what about the inflationary impact of this? I mean, with all of these commodity prices going up, there's likely to be some kind of cost push inflation.
Of course, yes. That's the the necessary, or the path when it comes to traditional economics. When you have this kind of increases in commodity prices, it obviously translate to the increases in food prices. And well, when it comes to Nigeria as an agriculturally booming economy, we only seek to benefit from this. And obviously in the short run, the fact that we haven't increased our production in the short term obviously would suffer for this by significant increases in food prices or inflation in the near term. But I think the government, I saw an advert that the fact that the CBN had mentioned, the focus on agriculture, youth, and all of that. So we do expect that they take advantage of this.
Could it be that investors are hedging, using commodities to hedge against inflation?
Yes, because most economies are not offering better options because they're suffering at the moment. So it seems like commodities is the best place to invest at the moment. So yes, it's a great place for.
All right, still talking about the oil commodity, I'm taking it back here now to the downstream sector, where there's a report that daily consumption of petrol is now at about 93 million liters, up from 73 million it was before. Now, if this is true, it means that petrol imported, into the country is about 60 million liters higher than we normally would demand. So can we rightly say now that some petrol products are being smuggled out of the country? And if this is the case, I mean, shouldn't it be time for government to say, look, it's enough with this subsidy thing?
Bye-bye subsidy.
Yes, so it's puzzling news, just because, we only consume about 50 million liters per day, and the fact that, you know, they're saying our total consumption is about 93 million liters calls to question, you know, where is the remaining, you know, 43 million liters going to? It means that, you know, some of these marketers are probably benefiting from smuggling these particular products, and it obviously calls to question at a point where revenue is quite tight for the government, why spend so much, about 4 billion naira on subsidies? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of the marketers had mentioned, you know, the subsidies are necessary to keep prices, you know, the way they are, but I don't necessarily, you know, we don't, you know, think that, you know, the subsidies are absolutely necessary. The money can be channeled to other, you know, sources that is quite needed or needed for, but I don't think, you know, it's something that the government is looking at the moment. They believe the subsidies is what's helping to keep prices afloat. And I'm sure if they decide to remove it, there'll be the, you know, reaction of increases in petrol or pump price.
As usual. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, Bolande. We do appreciate it. And happy holiday. I mean, tomorrow and next holiday.
Then you're back to work Friday.
Holiday.
Thank you so much.
I'm not going to enjoy that holiday with you. I'm sure you know that. All right, that's Bolande Agbaje, one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we look at the cement market.